At the end of the day, you'll receive one of three decisions from a medical school: acceptance, waitlist, or rejection. Let's cover each one and go over how to best navigate that particular outcome. Now, if you got an acceptance, congrats. Seriously, you've worked hard to get to this point and celebrations are definitely in order. But don't forget to secure your position. Even if this isn't your dream school, an acceptance is better than no acceptance, so make sure your spot is reserved. This often requires you to respond to the acceptance email and provide a deposit to reserve your position. This deposit is usually refundable up until a certain date. However, even if the deposit is not refundable, just from a risk assessment perspective, it's still likely worth it to reserve your position rather than just hope you get acceptance to another school. Only once you receive more than one acceptance should you be choosy with where you reserve your spot and send your deposit. It's okay to reserve positions at multiple medical schools up until April. Each year there's a different date at which you must commit to a single school. If you already know before April where you'd like to attend, then be courteous to other applicants and commit to one so they can hopefully get off the waitlist and your position can be given to someone else. Having multiple acceptances is a fantastic position to be in. In terms of determining which school to attend, this is going to be a highly personal decision. Some factors to consider include location, cost, curriculum, unique opportunities, the culture and attitude of the school, and more. If you're a highly competitive applicant and have multiple schools eager to have you, you can use this to your advantage to secure additional scholarships and reduce your loan burden. This alone can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's often overlooked by these competitive applicants. So after securing multiple acceptances, you can send an email to the school explaining you love the program and you could see yourself being a great fit, but the cost is prohibitive and you'd like to inquire about the financial aid or scholarship offerings for someone in your position. By doing this, I was able to secure the top merit scholarship at my #1 program that's only offered to one student each year. It required first, asking, and second, being the strongest applicant that I could be. This alone saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars and it covered all of my tuition and most of my living expenses. Now I got lucky, but in hindsight, I didn't play this best from a strategic perspective. Since UC San Diego was my #1 program, largely based on location and the strength of the program, I was fortunate to get an acceptance a few weeks after my September interview, and it definitely influenced the rest of my application cycle. I had a total of 5 acceptances by this point, so I canceled interviews at other top programs, such as Cornell, NYU, and many more. This is before I had secured the merit-based scholarship from UCSD. I lucked out in being able to secure that scholarship at a future date. However, if I were to do it again, I would have attended these interviews at other top programs, done my best to secure acceptances, and then use that as leverage to increase my odds of being able to secure a strong financial package, whether at UCSD or another program. When you're deciding where to go, be mindful of your own biases. Maybe you'd be most comfortable in your hometown, but understand that exploring some new place can actually expand your horizons and introduce you to new opportunities. And you may be influenced by a school's ranking. UC San Diego was ranked #14 the year I applied, and I found myself being drawn to 2 other programs in the top 5 and 1 in the top 10. But after realizing I was more drawn to them by prestige than by the actual program, location, or other factors that would be more important and relevant to my happiness, I was able to commit to UC San Diego. A big component for me was the culture and fit of the program. The fit is an often used and amorphous term, but after attending interviews and even second look weekends, you'll get an idea of where you can actually see yourself for 4 years. I was seriously considering a top 5 institution that consistently has the highest MCAT and GPA, and it was a fantastic program, but I didn't love the city. And equally important, I didn't feel as aligned with most of the students and faculty that I came across with compared to those at UCSD. I knew I would be happier in San Diego. Cost is another huge factor that you should not overlook, particularly given the power of compound interest on your student loans. For most students, staying in-state will be more affordable than going out of state, at least at public institutions. Public universities are also usually cheaper across the board, but if you can secure a scholarship, then private institutions can actually be more cost-effective. Next, you may be placed on the waitlist. This is a very common outcome, so don't be discouraged. There's still hope that you can get off the waitlist and be accepted to that medical school. Remember, applicants can hold multiple acceptances up until around April 30th. After this deadline, which can again vary from year to year, applicants have to commit to a single school. And since competitive students will have to give up their multiple acceptances in favor of just one, this is the time at which you can expect to be accepted off the waitlist. The best thing to do would be to maintain contact with the school with a letter of interest or letter of intent with relevant application updates. Maybe you have new publications that you'd like to update them on that can be included in your letter. Also, be on top of your emails. You don't want to miss an important email that causes you to miss the opportunity to matriculate. Last, the outcome of rejection. This happens even to the strongest of candidates, and it's just part of the process. Don't take it personally. They simply cannot interview and accept everyone. Many students ask if they can appeal the rejection. Technically, yes, but this is usually reserved for extreme cases like discrimination or something that went sideways on interview day. For most students, they'll need to just accept the decision and move on. As we talked about earlier in this course, your mindset and how you deal with the rejection will be the most important factor determining your future success. Now is the time to ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? Evaluate your application and figure out what went wrong. You can contact schools who rejected you to inquire about what the deficiencies were in your application, but they will often either not respond or respond with something very generic. The best way to handle this is to have a professional with admissions committee experience, like one of our insiders at medschoolinsiders.com, go over your application and point out the deficiencies and, equally important, how to best address those weaknesses in the most effective way possible. You can also get hints about where your application is weak just by looking at where you fell through. If you have a strong MCAT and GPA, but didn't get any interviews, then it's a strong sign that the soft components of your application, like your personal statement, primary application, and secondaries, are holding you back. But if you went on multiple interviews and still didn't get any acceptances, this points to weak interview skills that are holding you back. After evaluating your weaknesses, it's time to take action. If your weakness was a low MCAT or poor GPA, then it makes sense that the schools were concerned about your academic ability to handle the rigors of medical school. You could either retake the MCAT or consider other GPA boosting activities like a postbac or SMP to demonstrate your academic abilities. If your numbers were strong and your personal statement or interview skills were lacking, then take the necessary steps to improve them. And for interview skills, you can address that during the same cycle. For components such as your personal statement, you would have to rewrite them when you apply the next cycle. The decision to reapply immediately or wait a year is highly dependent on where your deficiencies lie. If they are easily remedied in a short period of time, such as the soft components of your application, then reapplying next cycle may be appropriate. However, if you have deficiencies in your clinical exposure, which is a very common deficiency, then you may need additional time to adequately strengthen that component of your application. Additionally, reflect on your goals. If you are confident that you'll want to do primary care or a less competitive specialty in the future, consider applying to osteopathic medical schools. You'll still be a doctor at the end of the day. When it comes to dealing with rejection, your attitude is everything. If you have a growth mindset and understand that this is an opportunity to improve yourself, you'll fare far better than someone who gets down on themselves and wallows in their misery. The decision is up to you.